September because generally means the end of the summer and autumn is right around the corner and all of my favorite holidays are coming up, and I don't know, it's just my favorite time of the year. So I'm happy to be celebrating that with you. Okay, so today I made a pumpkin. I burned my hand. I made a pumpkin spice latte at home. I don't know if you can see, it's slightly orange a little bit, but it basically just looks like coffee. But I was going to buy a pumpkin spice latte, as I said I would, as I say every year. But then I remembered that I live in Canada, and a pumpkin spice latte probably would have been like $12 or something insane. So I said no thank you, and I went and made my own. And I tried one yesterday, and it was actually really good. It has a very mild pumpkin flavor, just a little bit sweet. So yeah, I'm gonna be sipping on that. Let's get into your scary stories. Okay. Hi Leah. I hope that you are well. I have been wanting to send this story for a while now, but I'm not very good at keeping things concise, and that's delayed me in attempting to type it all out. I hope this isn't too long and that it all makes sense. For context, I am a 32-year-old woman. My name is Amy, and this all happened when I was between the ages of 2 and 6. So my memory of this experience is fairly vague. Parts of it I remember clearly, but other parts not so much. So I'm mostly going off of my parents' memory and what they have told me. It still freaks my mom out till this day. It doesn't scare me so much, but I find it really interesting, and they are very strange and very unsettling memories to have. When I was really little, I lived in a 3-bedroom house. There were 2 big bedrooms, one of them being the master, and then a much smaller box bedroom. I was the oldest child, and the box bedroom was my nursery. When my little brother was born, he slept in my parents' room, and then I slept in my nursery. This was until I turned 2, and he was 6 months old. My nursery then became his, and I was moved into the spare, bigger bedroom. It had more room for my big girl bed and my toys. As a small child, I had never been a bad sleeper. My parents never really struggled to get me to go to bed or to stay in bed and stay asleep. Sure, I had the occasional nightmare, or I woke up thirsty, and I'm sure there was the occasional tantrum over bedtime, but on the whole, it wasn't something that my parents struggled with. Even when they first transitioned me to a big girl bed from my crib back in the small nursery, they hadn't struggled too much with me. They hadn't struggled too much with me getting out of my bed. When they moved me into the bigger bedroom, they anticipated that it would probably take a little while for me to adjust, my parents spotted me, I would tell them that I couldn't sleep due to the clicking noise. My parents had no idea what this clicking noise was. They had never heard it, and therefore they assumed that it was my imagination, or maybe just an excuse for me to get out of bed. My parents say that it was about half a year later when I started telling them about the old lady. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, childminder. She looked after school-age children. Their parents would drop them off at her house in the morning, and my mom would take them to school. Then she would pick them up after school and look after them for a few hours until their parents came to take them home. She did this whilst my brother and I were little, so that she could be at home with us, but so that she could still earn some money. Despite my mom being at home with us all this time, she still sent me to play school. She still sent me to play school a couple mornings a week. My parents did this so that I could socialize with other children my age, and so that I could learn some independence in preparation for my first day at school. So, when I started mentioning the old lady that sings to me, at first my parents assumed that it must have been one of the play school workers. But when I said that she sang to me while I was in bed, my parents realized that it wasn't a play school worker. They tried to ignore it and tell themselves that it was my imagination. This is already very creepy. So, they tried to tell themselves it was my imagination, but soon the singing stories evolved. The old lady didn't just sing to me anymore. She would tell me stories. I would have more and more full conversations with her. My mom especially started to get creeped out. She said that the conversations I had seemed real. was not scared of this old lady. I thought that she was nice. I would sometimes ask my parents if she could tell me my bedtime stories instead of them. I told other people about this old lady, including my grandparents and my parents' friends. When people would ask me her name, I told them that she didn't have one, but that she was my friend. By the time that I was 3.5, my brother was now 2. My parents decided to move him into my bedroom with me, as the small nursery didn't have much room for his toys. Once he moved in, I stopped talking about the old lady. My parents no longer found me talking to her. She was pretty much forgotten, and my mom admits that she was grateful that my creepy imaginary friend was gone. However, my brother and I sharing a room actually wasn't a smart move. We would both get out of bed and just play together. My parents tried to stop this and put us back to bed, give us each appropriate punishments like a timeout, etc. But we refused to sleep. So, after a couple of months of very tired, grumpy children, my parents moved my brother back into the smaller bedroom, and I had the big bedroom to myself again. They kept most of his toys in my room, but for sleeping purposes, we had to be in separate rooms. This is when the old lady reappeared, and where my memories of her really begin. My first memory of the old lady is her sitting on the end of my bed with her back against the wall. I can still see her in my mind. She was small and had shoulder-length, thin hair. I don't remember the front of her face. I only vaguely remember her profile, but my most vivid visual memory of her is her hands. She had bony wrists and hands that showed her veins. Most of all, I remember her long nails and the clicking sounds that she would make with them. She would lace her fingers together with her thumbs on top, and with one thumb, she would flick her nail under and over her other thumbnail. It made this soft, clicking sound that I can still hear today if I really concentrate. My dad was quick to tell my mom that the old lady wasn't real, and that I was only imagining her because I was alone and bored. To him, that is why she disappeared when my brother shared my room, and why she reappeared when I was all alone. My mom wanted to believe this. She knew that logically it made sense, she was no longer my friend. I didn't like how she talked, and I did not like her clicking. Come bedtime, I now often put up a tantrum, saying that I didn't want to go to bed because the old lady would be there. It became a nightly battle for my parents to constantly have to calm me down to try to get me to go to sleep. But no matter how many times they put me to sleep, they would always hear me wake up again. Sometimes I would be crying, and sometimes they could hear me telling the old lady that I was tired and that I just wanted to sleep. One night, my dad raced upstairs because he could hear me screaming. He assumed that I had had a nightmare. I was just screaming at the end of my bed, and when he appeared, I asked him to make the old lady go away. My dad tried telling me that there was no old lady, but I wouldn't believe him. I kept telling him that she was there and that she wouldn't stop clicking and talking to me. My mom came in to help. She came in to help calm me down, as my dad was having no luck. And that night, I ended up sleeping in their bed with them. More nights like this happened. I would be upset to various degrees about this old lady. I would beg my parents to make her go away. I told them that she wouldn't let me sleep and that she kept waking me up. No amount of soothing and calming from my parents really helped. I would still wake up every night crying. They figured that I was having lots of nightmares, and they even took me to the doctor about it, worried that it could be night terrors. The doctor, of course, said that it was normal for a child my age to have frequent nightmares, and they suggested a longer time. They suggested a longer time slot of calming activities before bed. One of the things that I remember about those nights was waking up to feeling fingers in my hair. I couldn't see the old lady, but I could feel her bony fingers stroking through my hair. Nope. Occasionally, her long nails would touch my scalp, and it would not knowing what else to do, decided to try and put my brother in my room again. They thought that it was worth a try, and they hoped that we would both sleep instead of playing together, and that perhaps this would cause the old lady to go away again. My dad still firmly believed that she was imaginary, and my mom just wasn't sure what to think. But they both agreed that this was worth a try, and it helped somewhat. I stopped seeing the old lady, but I would still complain about her clicking. My brother also said that he could hear the clicking, but to this day, we don't know if he really did or if he was just saying what I was saying because I was his big sister. I would still wake up most nights crying because she was touching my hair. It was slightly improved, but not drastically. However, my nightmares were waking my brother up. Now that both of us were having disturbed sleep, my parents soon put my brother back into the box bedroom. As soon as I was alone again, the old lady returned visually. She was back to sitting on the end of my bed where I could watch her click her nails. I remember asking her to leave me alone, but she would just sit there clicking her nails over and over and over. She no longer sang to me, but she did tell me stories. I don't remember what the stories were exactly, but my parents have told me that I would often say that they were about a dog, and the lady said that she was lonely. Her voice was always quiet. It was soft-spoken. Sometimes I would even struggle to understand her. She wasn't there every night, but it was every night where I would wake up to her bony touch. One day, when I was around 4, my mom was in the school playground picking up the children that she looked after. She was stood with a group of other childminders and moms, chatting away as they waited for the school kids to be released from class. My mom always stood with the same group of women. I suppose they were casual friends. However, on this day, another woman came over to my mom. She was inquiring to see if my mom had any free slots in her child-minding schedule. The government assessed childminders to allocate how many children that they could legally look after at one time. This woman happened to be the woman that lived in my house before my parents bought it, and therefore she knew who my parents were and what my mom did for a job. she didn't want me, I guess she didn't want to be responsible for me unintentionally scaring the kids that she was paid to look after. And that had happened once or twice before when I had talked about the old lady. However, one afternoon before my mom could stop me, I told Ben all about the old lady. Ben didn't really care about what I told him, and my mom was able to steer us into doing something else. That evening, when Ben was picked up by his mom, my mom warned her that I had told Ben about my imaginary friend, and that although Ben didn't seem upset or even interested in what I had said, my mom wanted to give his mom a heads up just in case it had actually scared him. However, whilst it didn't scare Ben, it did scare his mom. Ben's mom immediately knew what my mom was talking about. My mom did not give any details other than saying something along the lines of, quote, "Just so you know, in case it scared Ben, Amy told him about her imaginary old lady friend," end quote. Ben's mom responded with, quote, "Do you mean the bony woman?" End quote. I can only imagine how my mom must have paled in that moment. She says she immediately felt sick and got goosebumps. They began talking about the old bony woman, and it was clear to both of them that she was the same person, same thing as the old lady that was in my room. Before Ben's family moved house, my bedroom had been Ben's bedroom, and he had experienced all the same things that I did. He complained about the clicking nails, and he complained about the bony woman who talked way too much. His parents had always assumed that it was his imaginary friend, and when they moved out, Ben stopped complaining about her, and they had pretty much forgotten all about her until then. Until my mom mentioned my creepy, imaginary old lady friend. My mom was creeped out, to say the least. But of course, she didn't tell me anything about the conversation that she had and about the things that she learned. She did tell my dad, and he put it down for the fact that I remember her. She continued to sit on my bed and click her nails until I was about 6 years old. My parents never spoke to me about the old lady. It was me that asked them about her when I was a teenager. It wasn't until then that I learned about Ben and his mom. And because of this, I don't think my memories are fake memories. Maybe the nightmares really were just nightmares. But there were definitely times where I was wide awake and feeling her bony fingers in my hair. I really hope that this all made sense, since during some of it I was too young to remember. I have relied heavily on my parents' memories. They're pretty sure that they have the time scale right, but it was roughly 3 decades ago, so maybe there are some discrepancies with my age or the amount of time between events. To this day, I fully believe that I was visited by an old lady of some sort, and my mom believes that too. My dad only recently admitted, in recent years, that maybe she wasn't an imaginary coincidence, but he's still not sure what to believe. My brother has no recollection of any of this, other than hearing me talk about her when I was a teenager. I lived in that house until I moved away to university, and my parents sold it as a couple years later. I'm assuming sold it to a couple years later when they relocated to a different part of England. My last memories of the old lady were when I was 6 years old, and it was mostly her sitting on my bed, clicking her nails away. She would still occasionally wake me up by stroking my hair or by whispering in my ear. Whispering in my ear. And she still terrified me, but it did happen less and less. Eventually, I stopped talking about her, and my parents were just happy and relieved that my nightmares and my fears seemed to have stopped. As an older child and teen, I never really experienced anything too wild. Occasionally, I would hear a clicking noise, but only as I tried to fall asleep. And honestly, maybe at that point, it was just my subconscious, because still to this day, in a different part of England, in a different house that I own with my fiance, and at the age of 32, sometimes when I'm falling asleep, I still can hear a click or two. Also, side note, we had 2 cats when all of this was happening. They were typical, lazy, sleepy cats who that was just the cats not wanting to be near an upset and probably noisy child. But my mom and I do wonder if the cats also didn't like the old lady. Oh, thank you for reading. With love and best wishes, Amy. Amy, thank you so much for sending that story in. Oh, I'm so appreciative of you watching and supporting the channel and sending your story in. That is so creepy. It's very creepy, but at the same time, you have to wonder if, like, just imagining if she was real. Just imagine for a second. We all believe that ghosts are 100% real. They can come into this realm or whatever you want to call it. And she's just sitting there singing to you and brushing your hair. It's kind of sweet, right? If you peel away the creepy layers of that onion, there's something sweet about it. But I wouldn't want that in any way, shape, or form. As I always say, our house would be up for sale tomorrow if that happened to me tonight. Cheers, Amy. Thank you so much for sending your story. Okay. Okay. So, story number 2. I believe this is which I now think to be her in the basement. Without a doubt, the scariest experience of my life. Thank you for reading this. I love your channel and I love everyone else's spooky stories. Keep being awesome. Thank you so much, Dennis. That's creepy. How many of you experience the same dream night after night? Okay, I'm curious how common that is. I'll have a similar dream. Like I have had similar dreams repeated, but not usually night after night after night. That's very rare for me. So I wonder how common that is. So Dennis, thank you so much for sending that. I don't know. I do not like shadow people, and I do not like creepy, freaky children. So that is my nightmare. Literally, not mine, but yours. Thank you for sending your story. Okay, so story number 3. Hello there, Leah. Hello. I just wanted to share a quick real life story with you that happened to me many years ago when I was younger. I'm 27 now. Anyhow, I think it would have been maybe 12 or 1 o'clock a.m. It was a summer's night here in Australia, and it was very, very hot. So I decided to have all of my windows wide open and the blinds fully pulled across. I was wide awake because for some reason I couldn't sleep. Firstly, I want to give you a rundown on how my room was set up at the time. My bed was up against the wall that my door was on. My window was on the right side of me, and my door was on the left side of me. Now, I was just sitting there in my bed, doing whatever I was doing at the time. In my family, we tend to get gut feelings. My family and I are big on superstition and gut feelings, that kind of stuff. Well, I had a strong gut feeling to look to my right, over where the window was. So I did. And when I looked, I saw a tall, dark-skinned man with dark blue jeans, a white shirt, and what looked to be a brown leather jacket on. He was standing on my front lawn. Mind you, my front porch was directly below my window, so when you stepped onto my porch, the window was there. I could literally open my window and step out of it onto the porch. Anyhow, when I saw the man, I jumped up and I froze. As I froze, he started to move towards the porch, and he was going to step over the gate onto it. Thankfully, my body came to its senses, and I started slowly moving towards my bedroom door. Now, my room and my parents' room was directly across from one another, and the front door was also near our bedrooms as well. So, as I am slowly moving towards my door to go started moving with me, watching me the whole time as I was moving towards the outside of my room. I saw the front door was open to let cool air in as well, and I could see him through the screen as he could see me. When I got to my parents' room and called for them, he took off and I believe jumped over the side fence. Till this day, I don't really know what to make of it. The house that we lived in was old. The fly screens were pretty crappy, and I feel if I didn't react the way that I did and I just stood there, he may have taken the screen door off, and who knows what would have happened. I also remember seeing him holding something in his hand. I think what scares me the most about the whole entire situation is that for years I had these gut feelings, like flashes in my head and dreams of someone attempting to break into my house. After that incident, I didn't sleep properly for months. I refused to open my windows as I believed that he would come back one day. Thankfully, we've moved and I have overcome what happened. But I'd be lying if I said at times that I didn't have moments where I get a little bit scared, especially on nights when I am left home alone. So that is my story, and I hope you all will find it interesting. I really enjoy your channel, Leah, and all the stories that you provide us with, especially your self-written ones, which are my favorite. Aww. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I can't even imagine how scary that must be. Feeling like you're not safe in your own home. Like that's truly, truly terrifying. When we're not talking about ghosts or anything supernatural, but we're talking about a very real, very tangible person trying to get into your home. That's horrifying, and I'm sorry that happened. What was up with the crab walk? I didn't like that. Do you mean he was like crawling along, trying not to be seen? And I'm sorry, but I have to ask, if you're from Australia, do you guys actually leave your windows open? Because as a Canadian, being so far away from your continent, it's like mind-blowing to me the size of the spiders and the bugs and stuff that you guys have in Australia. That is truly terrifying, and I've always been curious to know, do you guys actually leave windows and doors wide open? Because what if one of those giant spiders comes in your house? I won't even leave windows and doors open here, and we don't really have anything that's that dangerous. Like, we have black widows and we have wolf spiders, but wolf spiders are like pretty much harmless. Black widows can bite you, but they really avoid you. Sorry, I'm rambling. I'm just curious. I'm curious to know if you actually leave your windows open, because that's scary to me. I'm sure everyone from Australia is thinking like, yeah, of course we leave our windows open. It's just crazy to me. so many different introspective